Hello and welcome back to the TomFM channel, and for the final time, welcome back to Gibraltar for the Billionaire Experiment. Today we've got the final part where we're going to go into the future for one final time to see if we can finally get a Gibraltar side to win a European competition. Of course, this is the final part of the experiment, so if you're not yet caught up, go back, watch the videos, and then come back here and we'll get straight on with it. If you have caught up and you've watched all the other videos, welcome back, hope you're okay. Today, we're going to do a quick recap, first of all, where we're in Season 30 right now. So last episode, we got to Season 30, so this is exactly where we left off from last episode, where Gibraltar is now the 11th most reputable league in Europe, which is very, very high. And after years and years of domination from Lincoln Gibraltar, we have now seen Mons Calpe, Lynx and St Joseph's win a few titles in there, with St Joseph's winning 3 in a row, which is very good for them. The furthest we've seen any club get is Lincoln Gibraltar have got to the group stage of the Champions League, and they've got to the second knockout round of the Europa League. So we've not seen them get close to a final yet, but I think we could do that today. Now, first of all, what we've done is we've gone and given every club another £1 billion. Some of them were starting to run out. After 30 seasons, they were running down. They were down to a last 100 million sort of situation. So we gave them all a top of the money. That's going to help us out, I think, to get ourselves into position to win a European competition. So they've had £2 billion each, I suppose. But really, it's not that much. They made £1 billion last 30 years, which in football is quite a long time, so they can use that extra £1 billion to try and get themselves up. We said we'd go another 10 years into the future in today's episode, and I mean, we have gone 10 years into the future, but we've also gone a little bit further. I thought I'd just leave this running overnight, so I thought, okay, if I leave it running overnight, it might go 15 years in the future, something like that. Now, before we go and see how far we actually have gone into the future, we just thought we'd have a quick look at the Gibraltar national side, because obviously the money that goes into the league has affected the national side. They're now the 68th most reputable club, or the 68th in world ranking. I don't want to say reputable. They're 68th in world ranking, 68th best club in the world. They've not qualified for anything yet in terms of I've checked all this. They've not qualified for a World Cup or European Championships, anything like that. So we can't get too carried away with that. But as a consequence, it has had quite the effect. Now, before we do go forward, I just want to say thank you ever so much for all the support on this little mini series that you've given me. You guys seem to really, really have enjoyed it. So make sure you do subscribe and stick around for more. Plenty more experiments coming out in FM20. You're going to really enjoy it, I think. And of course, thank you ever so much for all your kind comments as well. Really appreciate that. So keep those up in the comment section. I love hearing what you guys say to me and things like that. So thank you very much for that. As FM20 is around the corner though, we're going to have one more experiment after this before FM20 comes out. So look forward to that one as well. And of course, if you've not yet pre-ordered FM20, link down in the description to the cheapest place you can get FM20 for less than £30 if you use promo code TomFM at the checkout. It's a win-win for all of us. Anyway, before we go forward, I've already simulated forward, so I can just go in here and load it. But we're currently in at 2048, all right? So we're going to go to load game, and we're going to go to Gibraltar End here, which is the last bit of this experiment, and we'll just see how far we got. So was it 15 years? Or was it 20 years? Or was it even 25 years? Because we're in 2048 now, and now we're in 2090. It went an awful long way overnight. So not just 10 years, 15 years or 20 years, 32 years in the future from last episode. That's more than we've gone every other episode so far. I didn't realise it would go that far. So hopefully we're going to see an awful lot in today's episodes. Of course though, 32 seasons, we can't go through every single one of them. So we're going to sort of just go through things with a snapshot, I suppose. We'll have to look through things generally speaking. So we're going to head over to Gibraltar and we're going to see what's gone on here. So first things first, it's the 6th most reputable league in Europe now, which is pretty good. Behind the Premier League in first, obviously, which must be up there. Spanish First Division, Serie A, Bundesliga, Ligue 1, and the Gibraltan First Division. Ahead of the Portuguese Premier League, Russian Premier League, Eredivisie. Wow. So that's already a pretty good start for us. And they've been 6th for a long, long time. So they've obviously established themselves up there, which is very, very good. Let's look at the past winners then. We can already see here some really different winners to what we're used to. So we scroll back to the 48 season where St Joseph's won their third season in a row. They went on to win a further 4 in a row before clearly dropping off somewhere, and the rise of Gibraltar United and Lynx came about as they keep winning titles through the mid-2050s. Not just the mid-2050s, all the 2050s. They battle it out pretty much until we get to the 2060s where suddenly Lincoln Gibraltar decide to come from nowhere and win a few league titles alongside Boca Juniors, Mons Calpe getting themselves in there. But then, Hound Dogs, who are potentially the best team name in the world. I love that. They've got some really good names in Gibraltar, which I find really strange, but they've got some great names. Hound Dogs, though, win a couple of titles in the early 2070s, with Lincoln Gibraltar also winning a few. Gibraltar Phoenix also getting there. Bruno's Magpies, who actually do have the best name in football, win a few, or come runners up a few times there as well. Obviously, through the 2070s into the 2080s, it's all Lincoln Gibraltar, with the odd title for Links and St Joseph's. Boca Juniors end up winning one in 2085, and in 2087, Glasses United win a title as well. So they're all your league winners for you. Some different league winners in there, which is pretty interesting. Europa Point also getting a few runners up there as well. Lions also running up a few times as well, so that's quite good to see. Let's look at records then. 63 winners for Lincoln Gibraltar. That is massive, with Lincoln Gibraltar getting 79 points in a season one time. Gibraltar Phoenix, getting 0 points at one point as well, which is quite interesting. Down here, Lincoln Gibraltar, they had a 6-year period without losing a game, 168 games in a row. That is pretty mental. Love to see that. And the highest average attendance was the season we've just had. 38,000, nearly 39,000 people going to watch Lincoln Gibraltar. How many people are actually in Gibraltar? According to Google, only 34,000 people currently live in Gibraltar. I mean, I know we're talking, almost 100 years in the future, but I don't think the population is going to increase that much to have 39,000 people regularly attending Lincoln Gibraltar. I mean, that's crazy. Just want to see what kind of money is also being thrown around by these clubs in recent years. I mean, £40 million, £34 million, lots of transfers, and £20 million in a season we've just seen. I'm going to sort of go through this quickly to see if I can spot some big numbers, but generally £40 million, nearly £50 million that season as we go through. £62 million here for, actually that's a player leaving from Lincoln to Tottenham, which is a little bit annoying as we go through. But as we keep going, I suppose £50-60 million is sort of the top range transfer we're getting. £70 million this one season from a guy from St Etienne to Gibraltar United. Now that is a big transfer. But going through, £73 million there, but he's going to PSG. No transfers over £100 million as we actually get into last episode's transfers now, which is a bit annoying. But a lot of money is being spent in the end. I mean, £73 million, £70 million, 50, 60, that is still an awful lot of money. Let's take a quick look at the national side then. Where do they find themselves now? 43rd in world rankings. They were as high as 41st at one point. Seems to be maintaining themselves in the top 50 or so. I didn't think they'd get to be the best international team in the world, just because I know that it won't have the emphasis on youth development. Just giving them £1 billion, they won't have that emphasis on youth development. And also just sort of the inbuilt things around Gibraltar won't have that youth development. We can change that, of course. We're doing another experiment with a slightly different premise around it. We could change the youth things to try and make Gibraltar the best team in the world. And we will do experiments like that in FM20, so stick around for those. But it's not quite been the focus of this experiment, and you can sort of see from this. Interestingly, the Gibraltar national side still play at Victoria Stadium, which is still only 5,000 capacity, and that's after expansions. In real life, it's only like 2,500. So we'll look at stadiums in a minute as well. Gibraltar, though, have qualified for European Championships, and despite not winning a single game in the group, got through to the second round there, which is a little bit weird. That's a really weird one. They do win games and things like that, and they get to the European Championships every now and again. But I'm not seeing them win a World Cup or a European Championships. They're not a top team that are going to be doing that, unfortunately, despite them getting to a few European Championships. As I say that, though, 2074 was a very good year for Gibraltar. They got to the World Cup quarter-finals. They had a pretty easy run, though. Algeria and Mexico in the group stages, Morocco, Ecuador, and then Russia in the quarter-finals. Perhaps they could have gone on to win that quarter-final match. If we go back a few more years, though, I can't really see anything else coming up for Gibraltar in World Cup or in the second round of European Championships there. It's not too important, really. What we want to look at, though, are World Cups. I want to see who's won it the past few times. So back to 2018 real life, France won it. But as we go forward, are there any shocks up there? I mean, Austria winning it in 2038 is perhaps a shock, with the Denmark coming second in 2042 and Switzerland winning it. That's, a different final, definitely. But no really massive shocks there, I've got to say. Even looking down second place, Chile maybe as second place, Peru as a second place, and Denmark as a third place as well. But no real massive shocks. Again, with the Euros, nothing really too shocking there either. I mean, Austria win it around the same time that they win the World Cup, as do Switzerland. England win quite a few actually as well. They win 4 international tournaments there and get to 3 more finals as well. So that's good for England, but not good for Gibraltar. So sort of coming back down to the league now, we're going to focus on some European exploits, but we want to look at the stadiums first. Now, historically, we've seen Lincoln Gibraltar get a new stadium, but everyone else sort of stayed sharing that same stadium, Victoria Stadium. Let's have a look at them then. Structures, or stadiums rather. Wow. Everyone's got a new stadium, which is absolutely mental, which means that Gibraltar, in real, if this was real life, all Gibraltar would be is football stadiums. It physically isn't big enough for 10 football stadiums, I don't think. It's just impossible. Lincoln had the biggest one at 38,000, but Olympique, who I don't think we've really covered at all in any of these, I don't think they've even won a title or anything like that. They've not won a title. They won the league once, or the cup once, sorry, and the Super Cup once, in all the Charity Shield sort of equivalent. They won the second division 10 times. Never an actual league, but they have got the second biggest stadium in Gibraltar at just under 20,000. St Joseph 17,000. Montecalpe only 15,000, smaller than Hound Dogs' stadium, only by 8 seats, 7-8 seats there, which is crazy. And if we go into the second division, all but 2 teams have their own stadium there as well. All over 14,000 seats, apart from College 75 and Leo FC are still sharing Victoria Stadium. What a stadium Victoria Stadium has been. So there we go. There are the stadiums, which is mental. We're going to look at Champions League then, first of all, before we get on to Europa League, which doesn't make sense, does it? Let's look at Europa League first, because that makes a bit more sense, starting with the smaller competition. Euro Cup, right. Obviously, we can't look through it every single season, so we're going to look at past winners instead, starting all the way down in the 2040s or so, because we know that no team won anything. So we're going to sort of look across for teams who win it and may become runners-up, but I can't see anything in the 2050s. As we go into the 2060s, Lincoln Gibraltar won a Europa League in 2066 against Salzburg. It took an awful long time, but finally a team have won a European competition, which is absolutely fantastic. This is what the whole point was. We wanted to see if a team would win it, and it took a bloody long time, an awful long time to do it, but they finally get it done, almost 40 years into the future. Did they get to win another one at all? Arsenal, in 5 seasons of runners-up 4 times. That's crazy, before finally winning one in the early 2070s. I'm looking around. I can't see any more Gibraltarian teams, which is a bit disappointing, but at least we've had one team win it, which is quite good. I'm not sure if that bodes well or not for the Champions League. Maybe only one team's won the Europa League because they've all won the Champions League instead. Let's look at the Champions League then, past winners, up from the 2040s where we left off last episode. And I'm looking for different teams. I mean, Man United have done well, winning quite a few titles, but I can't see any Gibraltar side. Tottenham winning quite a lot in the 2080s, doing very well, and that's it. No Gibraltarian side winning the Champions League, but we have seen Lincoln win a Europa League, and for that, that's good enough for me. And that then is the end of the Gibraltar experiment. What a ride this one's been. I've really, really enjoyed this one. And actually, it's the furthest that because we've got to 2090, it's the furthest we've ever been in any experiment that we've ever done. So quite an unprecedented experiment, this one. Quite a good one for us. Obviously, as I said, next time we've got one last experiment in FM19 before we move on to FM20. So join me for that one, which is going to be really, really exciting. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you have a good weekend. Have a good one. Goodbye.